right, that was The Art of Reason by Threshold off of Subsurface, and that draws Mostly Metal to a close. And now it's time for the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program, and hopefully we have standing by Tank. Tank, are you there?
Yeah, buddy, how we doing?
Good. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's definitely a little different, but I can hear you clear.
Okay, so we'll try this long-distance conversation thing in just a second. But in the meantime, I want to let everybody know that they're listening to WVLP, Low Power FM in Valparaiso, Indiana at 103.1 FM. You can also tune in at WVLP.org and also the TuneIn radio app. And now it is time for the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program.
Your insubordination will not be tolerated.
All right, it's 9:30. This is Ken the Metal Professor, and this is the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program. And hopefully at the other end of this line, I still have Tank. Tank, you still with me?
Yes, I'm with you. How you doing, sir?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for being on the air with me tonight here on WVLP. You had a pretty rough night last night, so we'll talk about what went down there and what things we have to look forward to in the future. But you're sitting down, you're comfortable, because we've got half an hour we can kill here if we need to.
Heck yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay. So a lot of people that are listening, if there are a lot of people listening, who knows? They may not know who you are, kind of what your background is. So can you give a real quick overview of who Tank is, where you came from, and what you're all about in the ring?
Well, basically, I am a big guy from Warsaw, Indiana. My background basically is growing up as a wrestling fan, decided, you know what, it's time to try this childhood passion, this dream of mine. Got into the business and doing this whole wrestling gig. And when am I in the ring? Well, you know this. I'm a hard-hitting, kind of a trash-talking, big son of a gun. And I try to entertain, but some people like that, some people don't. But basically, I'm just a fan who's living out a dream and becoming a pro wrestler. That's in a nutshell.
How long have you been at it?
I've been doing this for about 3 years now, going on my 4th year. So still young to the business, but that's about how long.
And you keep really busy because I've been doing this part of the show since last August, and I think this is probably episode 27 or something like that. And when I'm running down cards that have happened, and the coverage area that I try to stick to is kind of north central Indiana. So stuff going on within, like an hour and a half drive from Valpo tops. And I'll tell people as I'm running down the rosters of who has performed and who is performing, they're going to hear a lot of the same names over and over because folks work for several different promotions. And I think yours is one of the names that I end up mentioning the most. Oh, well,
yeah, I try to keep myself busy with going around with such great companies. There, you know as well as I do, there's so many great companies around. If you are a fan of wrestling in general, the Midwest is very, very, very popular right now. And I try to keep myself in every bit of company, because the more you're out there and exposing yourself as a talent, the more, like you said, you get your name out there. So you're always trying to get yourself in any type of promotion, hour, 2 hour, maybe even a 3 hour drive. It doesn't matter. You got to get your name out there. You got to do it.
What's the farthest distance you've ever driven to get to a show to perform?
Well, I believe it was a 3.5 hour drive to southern Indiana. I went down there to around the, I think it's Hoosier Pro Wrestling down there. I believe that was Columbus, Indiana.
All right. That's a pretty good haul from here.
Yes, it is. And I've went to Detroit a couple of times, which is, about 3 also. So north and south, wherever, you know, it's about there.
Now, do you at least win when you have to drive that far?
I will say I will entertain and give it my best every time.
All right.
So.
Now, I did once I started paying attention, and it's been probably 2 or 3 years since I really did start paying attention. I mean, what you said about the number of promotions that are active out there in the Midwest and in our area specifically was just astonishing, because it really brought to light to me the word underground, right? Because you hear about the underground music scene, or the underground this or that, and it's underground until you know about it, and then once you know about it, it's everywhere.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. I make my little calendar of wrestling events that are coming up, and like during this part of the year, I've got say this week alone, I have like 3 or 4 different options in about a 7 or 8 day period of different things to go see that are still within a reasonable distance. If I opened up to Chicago or Southern Indiana, it would be even more.
Correct.
So the promotions you've worked for most recently, I mean, obviously Revolution Championship Wrestling, RCW, that's the group that had the card last night. We'll talk about that one a lot really soon here. But I've also seen you in Functified Wrestling, which is right there in your hometown of Warsaw. That's where it's based?
Yes, out of Warsaw, Indiana.
Okay. I've also seen you, I think the first time I don't know if it was the first time I saw you individually, but it was the first time I saw you and Brutus Dillon together as the Midwest Monsters, was actually
Correct.
here in Valpo for Pro Wrestling King at the little Moose Lodge right downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So who else? Are there any other promotions that you at least semi-regularly make an appearance for?
Well, like you said, RCW, they're mostly out of Mishawaka, South Bend, whatever like that. Great company. PWK, like you said, Eric King runs that company. A very good guy. He runs in whole different areas around northern Indiana. We got Fire Pro Wrestling. That I believe that you saw me there a couple of times.
Yes.
I'm still trying to work out dates to go there. I believe you had Chris on the show a few weeks ago. Great guy, great competitor. That company, that's a very, very entertaining company. I love going to there. Occasionally around the Valpo area, I know that STW, that's one that when it runs and stuff like that, that's ones I try to get onto because I like the Valpo crowd. There's a company up in Detroit, I believe it's called Class. I made an appearance there, and I'm trying to get more dates for them. So that's generally around here. I can't really think of anything else of other companies. Like I said, HPW, that's down in Columbus, and that's a little bit of a haul, so I don't really try to make it. But like I said, but mostly those 4 that I said around this general area. And there's tons of other ones I haven't yet to work for that I'm trying to get into. But those 4 are those major ones that seem to run very regularly and put on very great entertaining shows every time.
Right.
So
no, you guys kind of put me in a bind last night with RCW because that show last night was exactly the same date and almost the same time as the most recent Fire Pro show. So there was 2 shows. That happens once in a while, that there's so much going on that you have to make a choice.
Yes, I had to make that choice also, even as a wrestler. So and it stinks because, like I said, Fire Pro is such a great company, and RCW is too. It's just sometimes, it's really who asks first type deal. Sure. And you want to be a manager where you don't want to ever tell someone, hey, I'm going to be there, and put yourself on a flyer and advertise, but then you don't want to back out. That's the worst thing that we want to do in this business. We want to make sure that we can make it to everyone. But like you said last night, I think there was 4 companies running all last night. So like we said, there's major around. You gotta, everyone's a good choice. But last night, and you were there at RCW, it was a great show. It was for a great cause. It was a huge thing, and it was good to be there. Right. I'm good to be a part of any show. So
it was a special show, and that's one of the reasons I didn't just flip a coin. Right. I decided to go to RCW because, first of all, it was a fundraiser, which we'll talk about, and RCW shows to me are a little bit more special because they don't come around as often. Like PWK, Fire Pro, they predictably run, I think it's the third Saturday of every month. So I got to go see them the last 2 months in a row. And so this time it's like, well, I've got, one promotion that doesn't run that frequently and one that does. I think I'm safer missing, so they're it's almost, because they're so predictable and they run so many shows, that made it a little bit more disposable, which is bad for them, but the regularity is really good.
But I will say this. Both shows, both companies book great talent. So really, in my opinion, you couldn't have gone wrong with either choice.
Oh, sure.
So, but yeah, I understand the predicament because, like I said, that's what is so crazy, like you mentioned before, about the wrestling companies around here. Like you said, underground. Once you find the location, find the information, it's almost like a tree branch of more wrestling companies, more stuff, and you're like, wow, it's here. And even as a worker, you want to be on every show, you want to be in everything. So right now, wrestling, in my opinion, is at an all-time high. It's getting to almost be, when I was a kid during the Attitude Era, when wrestling was so-called cool, I feel like that's coming back. I think that wrestling is on a rise right now. So it's just great right now to be a wrestling fan, promoter, worker, in my opinion. That's right now.
Yeah. So, well, let's follow that thread that you just mentioned for a second, because this kills me. I've talked to quite a number of folks about where they started getting their inspiration for getting into wrestling, and you just mentioned, quote unquote, growing up in the Attitude area. I was already an old guy during the Attitude area, so that kind of gets me where it hurts. But like when you think about the folks that you watched growing up, were there any one or two people in particular that you look to, either then or still now, for your inspiration?
Well, I was always a big kid, and I will tell a little story of a young kid, kind of big, walking in the living room, and his father's watching pro wrestling. And it was kind of like, can I watch this? And I think, well, don't tell your mom. Let's watch it type deal. So I watched it, and like I said, growing up, it was just, I was awed by the size. I was like, wow, that guy right there is a big guy, Andre the Giant. Big guy. And it's like, wow, he's moving in the ring. He's just larger. I was always, Andre the Giant, big guy, Earthquake, Yokozuna, you name it down the line of all the bigs in the wrestling. And actually, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, though, was Ric Flair.
Oh, sure.
I watched Ric Flair, and I loved his persona. I loved his charisma. I loved the jacket. I mean, what the sparkly, the bedazzled, all of it, all of it. And that's that was my inspiration. I was like, I want to be that guy. Now, it contradicts what I said about loving the big guys. But that was a guy I was like, wow, he's the man. That's why he's the man. And that was always my inspiration. But then I looked at other guys, like I said, Yoko, Earthquake, go down the list, those big guys, seeing them move, it's like, it made me feel, I guess, as a young kid, maybe I can do that, It was just watching that and seeing the interaction, the storylines, the stuff that they did. It just made me, I guess, feel in my heart, I could do that.
Sure.
Why not?
Why not?
That's kind of, well, what was that?
Well, when I was watching you last night, I actually had a flashback to Earthquake, because on that outfit you were wearing, you had the kind of the Richter scale, the Earthquake jagged Richter scale thing going on. That was pretty cool.
That was a new singlet that I busted out that I wanted to almost do a Earthquake tribute. It was always, when I started getting into the wrestling of training, that they always kind of, what kind of guy do you want to wrestle like? Or do you want to predict certain moves? Not copy, but use. And Earthquake was one of the first came to me, because you look at me, once you come see me, I'm a big guy. But I'm surprising enough that I'm not, I don't wrestle like him, I guess, if you want to say. It's more, I just like to move around just like him. I may not be able to do flips. I may not be able to do a 450. I don't even like going on top rope. So I like to keep it on the ground where it's ground and pound. And that's, that's what was inspiration of that. Thinking I'm back to being a 6-year-old kid watching a big man walk around the ring in this cool tights.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of wasn't my thing. A little bit of a tribute, if you recall.
Well, that was neat. Yeah, I picked up on that. Yeah. So let's talk about last night. We can do this one of two ways. You're the guest here, so I'm going to let you make the choice. Do you want to talk right away about your match and what went down and what's coming up next, or do you want to help me break down kind of the show as it went on from beginning to end, and then we'll talk about your match when we get there?
Why don't you go ahead and talk? It's your show, sir. And let's hear the results of that show, because like I said, last night was a great show.
It was,
and it was 10 matches. Like, how long was it? Like a 4-hour show?
It was almost 4.5 hours.
Yes. So a lot of matches, a lot of great talent, and let's go ahead and tell everybody about that great show.
Okay, so we'll set the stage here. So last night, RCW 10th. It was the 10th annual, right?
Yes.
Slam Cancer Benefit Show for hospice care. Is that for a particular institution in the Mishawaka area? Do you know, or is it just kind of a general all-purpose thing for distribution to multiple places?
I believe it was what was it? I think it's for multiple ones. I believe so. I think it's stuff like that. It's Brutus. He came out and did that speech, like you said, and stuff like that. I believe he said with I think that's what it was. It was all multiple foundations and stuff like that.
Okay, so it was all about the charity event, and so all the money that got made went right into that charity, which is awesome. Correct. Because there were, like you said, there were so many people there giving their time and risking life and limb for something like that. It was terrific.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the basic framework of the show, right, was the James Wilson Memorial Tournament. Yes. And there were 4 qualifying matches in the first half of the show, and the winners of those 4 qualifying matches then would be in a fatal 4-way in the main event to crown the was this the first time they had that, or was this crowning the latest tournament winner? I don't know the history there.
Basically, it's a tournament that he runs that it's an honor for his dad.
Sure.
That lost his battle for cancer. So it's a tournament that they use he does every year. He tries to every year. I believe he's going to continue this every year. Once it's kind of like his WrestleMania, if you want to call it, where it's special to his heart, and it's put out there for young, upcoming, anybody, almost like if you want to call it a King of the Ring type deal.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Where everybody bring the best, go out there and win this awesome trophy.
It was
and
big.
make your name, make your name a stable, it's almost like a launching pad, if you want to call it, of showing yourself.
Yeah, so the four preliminary round winners were. See, I'm doing this from memory now because you're on my cell phone, and I don't want to start messing with my cell phone to look things up and accidentally hang up on you. So we're going from memory here. But the 4 winners were Roger Lanier, Eli McFly, Sage Phillips, and Caleb Stills. And that was the first 4 matches. Now, before the first 4 matches started, as you said, Brutus came out, and I thought it was really neat what he did to open the show, which was have everybody come out and do a 10-bell salute to everybody who had passed away from cancer. And then he started talking about some personal stuff with his recent injury and what that's put him through. And he was about to start getting deeper, and then Drew Skills interrupted him. Came out, and they started jawing with each other, and eventually, as it usually happens in these situations, Drew Skills attacked him and was about to do more damage to his leg, and that's when you decided that you had to get out there and put a stop to that.
Correct. It's when you have someone that's a brother, you want to be there for your brother, and to have a man like Mr. Skills come out and interrupt that, and then want to even further possibly an injury. No, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not on our time. Not on my watch. So I definitely wanted to come out there and be there for Brutus, because that's as far as I'm concerned, bull.
Right.
So
at the end of all that, Brutus set the match between you and Drew Skills for the semi-main event in the second half of the show. That then kicked off the 4 opening matches for the tournament. And then after those 4 opening matches, we had a spectacular match between Kevin Storm and Noah Walker, with Theo Storm handcuffed at ringside in a last man standing match. And when I was,
How crazy was that? How crazy was that?
When I was doing my little write-up, I made a list of all the stuff that made an appearance, right? There was a chair, there was a ladder, there was a kendo stick, there was a table. There was even a second pair of handcuffs that Kevin Storm got strung up on the ropes with for a little bit. So those guys just brought it. I mean, that was amazing.
Those two know each other so well. You know, those two know each other so well to go out there and to want to beat the living heck out of each other. You know, you could just see it. And that was a very, I would say, one of the most intense matches of the night.
Mm-hmm. And Kevin Storm did come away the winner after he. It's one of those things that there's probably a name for it, and I don't know what it is, but it's when he had Noah upside down in one corner. He put a chair up against his head and arms, and then he did a double drop kick from the opposite corner into the chair, and that put down Noah Walker long enough that he couldn't answer the 10 count.
That's what we call a knockout blow.
A knockout.
So that's what we call a knockout blow. So yeah.
I can't. There's a lot of things I can't imagine happening in that instant when you're behind that chair and you know you're about to get hit, but you probably can't see exactly when it's about to come, and then it happens, and then you realize, yes, you're still alive. That's got to be an intense couple of seconds.
Yeah, definitely.
So then there was intermission, and I'm gonna blank on order here, but let's see. We also had a title match for the women's championship. That was Amazing Maria against Danny Ferrara, and Danny Ferrara came up short, of course, with Jason Saint at ringside doing shenanigans and getting her disqualified even though she didn't do anything. We had the tag team match, the three-way tag team match, the Police Department, Guns and Aggression, and Lumber and Lightning with your buddies Lightning Bolt and JC Bunyan.
Yes, sir. That right there was I had to keep my eye on because, like you said, I've got a couple of friends of mine that are, from the Warsaw area that we travel around together with in that match, and that was good. Against, and it's like everywhere you go, who's the nemesis? The stinking police department. What an act too. Let's give props where it says they are a good talent.
Agreed.
But that and then don't count out the winners, Guns and Aggression. And I gotta say, I'm gonna go off record. How about that chop that man gave Lightning Bolt? That's wow. Just wow.
That sounded like a firecracker. But I have my own question about how you're feeling after yours when we get to that match in a couple of seconds. But that was intense.
Yes, that was.
It was.
Very good triple threat match.
It was. Let's see. I fear I'm forgetting something else, but I do want to. We'll save your situation for last, and just mention that at the end of the night, the four guys from the qualifying matches came out, and Caleb Stills ended up taking away the trophy.
Yeah, going away with the big win.
Yeah, and I don't know if Brutus does he really care who ends up with it, or does he kind of scowl that Caleb Stills is going to be walking around with that thing now?
Well, all I can really say is that he's probably going to make sure people know he won that tournament. And Brutus will he'll catch wind, and that's But Caleb, he'll definitely let people know who won that tournament. I can almost guarantee that.
I definitely think so. All right, so let's, with apologies to anybody else if there was another match I forgot about, in the time we have left, let's talk about you and yours, because you and Drew Skills went at it from the bell, and I've seen a lot of your matches, and I've seen you handle a lot of people. And with all due respect, I have not seen you handled quite like that. I mean, it's not like you were the runner-up or anything, but just watching you in that match, right? Drew was giving you a lot more, I think, than what I'd seen you have to deal with in some past matches.
Well, let's just say it as it is. Drew's good.
Yeah.
Drew is a well-known veteran. He is a world champion in multiple places. The guy has got what his last name says is skills.
Sure.
He's got skills. But like you said, he gave it to me, and I gave it right back.
Yeah, it went both ways.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it is unique to be in a match with a guy that's just as equally big, strong, and powerful. It was definitely an obstacle, but last night we went to war, and I felt, I held my own, and Drew definitely held his own,
Mm-hmm.
and we definitely, this ain't over. I mean, me and Drew will definitely go again.
Right.
Definitely.
There were several instances where, thinking ahead to the fact that I'd be talking to you, I kind of made a mental note to say, oh, man, I've got to ask him how he felt after that just happened. And I ended up with like 4 different things. One was right at the start of the match. You were talking about the chops, right outside the ropes before even things really got started. He gave a couple to you that echoed off the roof. So that can't have felt good.
Well, it tickled, but it wakes you up.
Yep.
It definitely wakes you up.
Probably like diving in freezing water right when you get out of bed in the morning. And then there was a turnbuckle spot where he kind of had you, with his ankles around yours, and he pulled you forward with your tights or singlet.
Yep.
Singlet is right? Is that right? Called a singlet.
Yep.
I got to learn my vocabulary, but he kind of pulled you forward so that you dropped into the turnbuckles, and it looked like you met awkwardly with that middle turnbuckle. So I was worried about you there too.
Hey, wrestling ain't ballet. It's sometimes it's just about hard hitting, and he got me there. I took it, but all I can say is, how did that feel? It hurt.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's wrestling.
Definitely.
You got to take the bumps. You got to take it.
Yeah. Well, I think at some point he realized he wasn't, no matter how much of that kind of stuff he was doing, he wasn't going to get very far with you in terms of taking you out for the duration, because I think he was trying to be a little smart and thinking about Brutus with the hurt leg and trying to basically do the same thing to you as Brutus's tag team partner and putting you in some ankle locks. And then there was that second time where you got to the ropes, but he didn't break it. He didn't break the hold, and so he got. Was Ref Russ your ref for that match, or was it Tony? I can't remember.
It was a Ref Russ.
Yeah, but he doesn't put up with stuff in his ring, so he called for the DQ at that point, but that didn't matter because Drew had already snapped, and he was bound to keep going until nice symmetry with the start of the show, right? You JC tried. It was nice. JC Bunyan tried to come out and help, but he didn't have a whole lot of luck.
God bless. I want to say God bless JC Bunyan.
Oh yeah,
because the guy is my friend. We were former tag team partners back in the earlier years of our career. And so we've always looked out for each other, but he came out and took a hell of a hit. I didn't get to see much of it, but what I saw footage in the back about him, and then just going completely back to the chair, it's like, he was trying to do the right thing, which I honor that he did that.
Oh yeah, definitely. You'll have to buy him I don't know what a lumberjack drinks, but whatever he drinks, you've got to buy him one.
What do you think he drinks? What do you think he should maple syrup? Pancake. There you go.
Exactly. So after all that, he didn't break the hold. Brutus came out to help you out, just like you did at the beginning, and finally, Drew Skills got chased away. Now, to continue talking about JC Bunyan's credit, he was on the floor on the outside, and every time Drew was getting fed up with what you guys were saying to him, he would turn around and take it out on poor JC and slam him into another chair. That was pretty brutal. But eventually what's happened now is Brutus is going to make his return to the ring on, was it August 25th? Is that right?
Correct. That is correct.
And it's going to be the reunion. Well, not the reunion, because you were never apart. It was just the delayed return of the Midwest Monsters against the Soul Shooters at the Patel Center again. So tell me what you expect out of that match that's coming up.
What the fans and yourself they're going to see is two monsters, two Soul Shooters go at it and just beat the living hell out of each other. We have bad blood. I mean, let's just say it as it is. He tried to ruin not only a returning Brutus Dillon's knee. He tried to fracture my ankle. Obviously, he knows that the tag division just got a little bit bigger with the Midwest Monsters coming back. So I believe what you're going to see is two teams that are, I think, as good as anybody around that wants to step into that ring and prove who is the better team, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thing. I believe that Mr. Skills and Apollo Star are going to get into a fight that they're going to wish that maybe they backed out, because me and Brutus are going to bring it, and we have a whole lot of beef behind us,
and
we're ready to go.
You've got it saved up for quite a while too.
Yeah. So this will be probably, I would say, one of the biggest tag matches around when it happens, because it's going to be two very good teams, and I hope that people will come videotape it and remember it, because it's going to be one of those could be talked about for a while.
That's awesome.
I think.
All right, so that's going to be August 25th at the Battelle Center. The Midwest Monsters against the Soul Shooters. It's definitely worth a drive from Valpo. So
thank you. Thank you for coming.
Sure.
Heck yeah.
My pleasure. All right. Any other messages you want to get out to anybody out there?
Yes, everybody, if you can, this actually in 2 days at the Argus, I believe, Fairgrounds, Marshall County Fairgrounds, SWF is putting on a free show there, and I believe it's Tuesday at bell times at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, right?
And it's it's a free show, and I believe it's Argus, Indiana, the Marshall County Fairgrounds and stuff like that. And there's I'll tell you right now, the card's actually looking really, really good. We have Cosmo versus, I believe, Alexander S. Kurt. I believe Fireball will be taking on Matt O'Hara. I believe that we have Lightning Bolt Johnson versus J-Rock. Hint, hint. Very good one. Keep your eyes on that one. We have a tag match with yours truly and J.C. Bunyan.
Oh, nice.
I believe we'll be taking on the police department with Officer Raj Street, and I believe I don't think Deputy Dave can make it. I think he's on duty at that time, but I think we have
SWAT team member number 48.
SWAT member. Yes, SWAT. Yes. We have a SWAT member, so we got that one. And I believe the other big match they have is Mr. Entertainment, J.D. Smooth, will be taking on Cletus Farmer.
Aha.
So, that's for a free show, on a Tuesday night, a free show of wrestling. Man, that's not bad.
That's not bad.
That's bringing entertainment. That's what FWF does. They like to bring the entertainment.
I've already asked my kids, hey, girls, do you want to go to a different county's county fair this week? I haven't really gotten a resounding yes yet, but we'll see. And then next weekend.
Get them an open here. Get them an open here. I mean, just bribe them. Get them an open here.
Elfin are the fried pickles and fried Twinkies.
There you go.
The next weekend after that, RCW is one of the promotions sponsoring When Worlds Collide 4. Do you have a role in that one?
Yes, we do. That is, I believe, PWK, RCW, and Strong Style. They come together for the Worlds Collide 4, and that's a big show. I know I gotta plug that. They have Hurricane Helms on the show. I believe Gilbert's going to be on the show. The Spirit Squad, I believe, is going to be there. Some obviously former WWE talent. That's huge right there. I believe that show is going to be, I think it's the 3-team police department. No, wrong one. It is yours truly, Tank, Lightning Bolt Johnson, and J.C. Bunyan taking on Noah Walker and I believe Legendary. Legendary I'm taking on. I believe that's what it is. Legendary with Noah Walker versus us. So that's a big 6-man tag. So that's going to be good.
That's going to be good stuff. And then you have Functified in their new home for the first time later in August for Firestorm.
Correct, Firestorm. And people, you can come out to that one. That's FWF's version of a Royal Rumble. that's a big one. And there's some really good matches. Kind of off the top of my head, I'm kind of going. I believe Shane Mercer will be taking on Mark Vandy. I believe that Ames will be taking on Fireball. I'm leaving a couple of other ones out. And then I will be a part of the Firestorm.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'll be doing right there. So that's that right there, people. If you like Royal Rumbles like I do, that's one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time. That's a great event we'll be doing that. I believe that's at the Center Lake Pavilion in Warsaw.
Okay. All right, so that runs down. We did a good job there because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8 or 9 different shows that I'm aware of in the general vicinity between now and like August 19th, and that's 3 of them. And I'll invite listeners to come back next week, to the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program to hear some details about the rest of them. So we actually went past the top of the hour, which is awesome. Normally I can't do that because there's normally a replay of a 2-hour block show coming right after mine, but that's not in there tonight. So I decided we could just let it rip and keep talking.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, man. I really do.
So good. So thank you so much for dialing in. I hope this wasn't too obnoxious doing this whole thing through the cell phone, but it did save you sitting in the car for 3 hours for a half-hour chat, right? So
yeah, definitely.
That's a good deal. All right. Well, come on back anytime you want. I look forward to seeing you possibly Tuesday night, definitely next weekend at When Worlds Collide 4.
Yes,
and,
definitely.
How can folks keep up with you, say, on social media and things like that if they're interested?
Are you talking about like my total head? Like I'm on Facebook if you want to look me up on Facebook. That's
yeah, like if somebody wants to keep up with Tank's schedule and what's going on, is there a particular is there a best way for folks to do that?
Best way to do it is on Facebook. I'm under there as Tank, capital TANK. You can look me up right there. I post my schedule there. I do have, Instagram. It's Tank Perkins, I believe that's where it's under. And then I'm not on Twitter. I used to be on Twitter, but I don't really get Twitter, so yeah. I'm not on the whole tweet type deal. But like I said, those two, if you look me up on Facebook and look me up on Instagram, that's basically the 2 ones I have and whatever like that. So, that's where you want to follow up.
Okay, that's good. So thanks, Tank, for being here on WVLP. I'm going to keep talking and do a station ID spot, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to hang up the phone and start turning down the dials. So I hope you have a good rest of the week, and I'll catch up with you sometime soon.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks. All right, this is Ken the Metal Professor, and you are listening to WVLP, Valparaiso's community radio station, 103.1 Low Power FM, and WVLP.org. That's the end of the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program, and I will turn it over to our regular scheduled programming. Whoops, it wasn't supposed to be that sudden. I was gonna do it nicer, not just jar you like that. Here we go. I'm turning you over to our regularly scheduled programming in the 10 o'clock hour. Here we go. See, isn't that better?
And everything's